gonna hit record. Well, are you ready for this very nice and compact adventure?
Yeah.
How are you, Marcos?
I'm
All
not sure.
good?
I'm good. Yeah.
Happy to hear. Well, we are now ready to go live with our podcast. Let's see if I can go now. Anyone? Marisol Menendez. I hope that I did everything okay here, because LinkedIn is always like an adventure. We are ready to go live, and the structure of the session is very simple. Let me get the book. The structure of the session is very simple. We just talk, and we will talk in 3 blocks. The first is for you to introduce yourself. Then I will ask you about how did you came to write about this and to open innovation in general. And then we finish speaking about the chapter. Is that okay?
Okay, sure.
Any questions, ideas, comments?
No.
Good.
I hope we'll sort it out.
Yeah, it's very nice. I don't know if you got the chance to see past videos, but it's very conversational.
Yeah.
And just your passion and knowledge will be enough to go around. Okay?
Yes. Great.
Okay, let's see here. Because okay. Perfect. Let me stream. Sometimes this doesn't work and we need to reconnect, but I think that it should work. Let's see. I'm not sure with broadcasting. Let's see. Yes, we are now ready to go live. Hello, everyone, and happy Open Innovation Thursdays. Today, we are celebrating once again a new week, talking about open innovation and the Oxford Handbook of Open Innovation. This is always a very happy moment for me. I'm Marisol Menendez. I'm an open innovation enthusiast, an open innovation practitioner, and somehow always trying to connect and get amazing ideas and amazing people related to open innovation to talk and to learn more and discover more around this world in open innovation. So this is a happy day for me. Every Thursday with Open Innovation Thursdays is a happy moment for me. 15 minutes to talk about one chapter of the Oxford Handbook of Open Innovation. This week, we are already in chapter 11. This chapter 11 is the last chapter of block number 2, the part number 2, which is open innovation within firms. And here's the index. I don't know. We will see with the blur effect here, we will finish chapter number 2. And as you can see, today we're talking about designing openness with technology and IP with no other than Marcus Holgersson. Hello, Marcus. Welcome. Welcome today. How
Hi,
are
Marisol.
you?
Thank you.
Thank you
I'm
very
very
much
good.
for joining.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Where are you connecting from today?
I'm connecting from Gothenburg, so Sweden's second city on the west coast, and it's a nice and sunny day finally here on the west coast.
Cool. This is amazing. And, I like very much asking this first question because it shows what we discovered in the first conversations with Agnieszka and Henry, that truly this book has authors from all over the world and with all different topics. And of course, very interesting people who have been researching and working on open innovation for a long time. Greetings all the way to Gothenburg. And so, Marcus, I always like to begin this 15-minute conversation with the first question. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. So I'm a professor of industrial management and economics at Chalmers University of Technology. so an engineering university here in Gothenburg. And I've always been interested in understanding how IP decisions relate to firm strategy, so intellectual property decisions. And that's how I started my research during my PhD. And of course, when you think about interesting IP decisions, they are quite commonly relating to open innovation, actually. So you end up in this kind of paradoxical situation where you need to protect something, but you also want to share it, and the IP can help you to coordinate and govern those kinds of relationships. So that's how I also moved into the area of open innovation and innovation ecosystems and so on. And all of these areas that I'm very interested in understanding better.
This is amazing, because one of the things that we commonly discuss, at least in my practice world, around with the practitioners, fellow practitioners, is that openness doesn't mean free and for everyone. It means sharing, but with good guidelines. And IP, of course, is a big part of this. So very interesting chapter to read today. And so this leads me to the next question. How come did you get to participate in the book? What inspired you, and what created this opportunity to share your knowledge here?
Yeah, actually, it relates to what you just said. I think, I mean, when I heard about this handbook that was to be written, and there was a call for chapter proposals, and I just as you just noted, I commonly still hear that open innovation is, free and no IP and so on. So there is this misconception, not among open innovation scholars, maybe not among open innovation practitioners either, but at least among a large chunk of the public, that's sort of a misconception that open innovation does mean that you don't have IP or you don't protect your technology. So I figured that it was a need in the handbook for a chapter that explains how IP, but not only IP, but also the technological architecture, the technical system, how the design of that, both of these dimensions relate to the design of openness. So something that isn't binary, it's not open or closed, it's a designed character of something. So that's why I call this chapter Designing Openness with Technology and IP. So highlighting the fact that openness is something that you manage and you try and design it with different parameters. And in this chapter, I focus specifically then on two of my main interests. So how the technology looks and what kind of IP decisions and contract decisions you make regarding this innovation process.
That's so interesting for me. And also, I think it relates very deeply to the own definition of open innovation, which refers to deliberate connections, to cross boundaries between organizations. And I think part of this deliberation to share knowledge, to create value, needs to be regulated somehow. And so IP is so important, and also technology has its own role. So let's begin discussing about the chapter now, and let's get into it. What do you talk about? What is it about?
Yes, my point of departure is actually the definition that you mentioned, and I note that it's a complex decision how you design your openness, and it relates to things like, okay, what knowledge and technology is it that you distribute or share? What are the organizational boundaries, or who do you share it with? And what mechanisms do you use to coordinate that process? So I take that as a starting point, and then I dive into these two dimensions that I use. So on the one hand, I talk about IP mechanisms and related contracts, and how you can use them to design the openness. And on the other hand, I talk about the technological architecture and how you can use things like modularity to both enable, safeguard, and increase the value potential, but also limit the risks relating to open innovation. So these are the two main dimensions of the chapter.
Let's begin with the IP dimension. I feel it's very interesting also from the practitioner side. We've seen that even, all the IP related research and activities and realities, even contracts and dynamics have been evolving to allow for collaboration, no, and other dynamics of knowledge and licensing and all that stuff. So you can even see that the most traditional legal firms are researching and creating innovation. I think it's compelled by this need from the players to share in a different way. But what did you learn, or what do you want people to reflect on with this specific IP dynamic? And I don't know if there's any evolution from the old IP ways that we've seen forever, no, like protecting a brand or a recipe or a formulation or whatever.
So first of all, I like to say that I don't really bring any new knowledge in this chat. I integrate available knowledge.
Integration is learning,
yes,
Integration
absolutely.
is learning.
So I build on scholars like Carlos Baldwin, Ann-Kristin Sobel, Isabella Leone, Kjell Larsen, and others. And I try to bring this together in this framework of these two dimensions. So when it comes to the IP and contracting side, first of all, there is a first decision, okay, what type of IP do you use? IP right, okay. Or for example, are you going for a patent, or are you going for a defensive publishing strategy or a trade secret? So this all has implications for your openness and for what kind of tools you can use later on. And then adding to that, but first of all, so in that decision, it's not only value capture that is sort of the main consideration. It's both value creation and value capture. And depending on the choices you make, you can impact both value capture and value creation. So I think this is an important takeaway, that in this setting, IP isn't about appropriation only. It's about coordinating and governing the full innovation process.
And letting it to continue to grow, no? Because at the end, you are worrying also about the generation of knowledge.
Yes, exactly. So it's both about enabling value creation, as you hint at. So how can you enable this by multiple parties to contribute to technology? There are, of course, risks associated with that. So, for example, if you share one of your core technologies and license it to someone else, the likelihood increases that these other partners will also start patenting in this field, and that might eventually hinder your own innovation efforts. So these are all, considerations that you need to make when you design your openness, and adding then contractual clauses to deal with that, such as grant back clauses that Isabella Leone and Kjell Larsen have made a couple of papers on. Okay, if it's close to the core, and you license out a technology closer to your core, you're more likely to sort of have grant back clauses in those licenses. And if you license in something, so on the inbound sound, closer to your core, you're less likely to be willing to sign those grant back clauses. So this really, a close connection between the technology, the technological architecture, and your IP decisions and contractual decisions you need to make. And this is what I want to really highlight in this chapter.
This is very interesting. And what's the role of technology in the chapter then?
So on the technology side, it's, you can think about, first of all, discrete or simple technologies that's only basically based on one invention or similar. Then it's not that much of complexity involved in terms of decision making. You can go for sort of in-house commercialization, or you can license out the technology. It doesn't have many interdependencies with other technologies of your firm. But if you have a more complex situation and you have multiple inventions, multiple technologies that are complementary to each other, might be strong complements, it's much more tricky to decide how to do this. One way of enabling openness then, as we know, and this is based on Carlos Baldwin, Joachim Henkel, and others, it's to modularize the technology of the system. So there are different modules, And if you separate them in that way, licensing something out, for example, and partnering with someone on a specific module, that limits the risks with doing that if it's separate from the rest of your technology. And that might also enable you to use some of these other IP rights and IP contracts that I talked about before. So it's really a combination of the technical structure together with the IP rights and the licensing agreements.
Very, very interesting. Of course, nowadays that technology is so omnipresent in many innovations and collaborations. I don't know, you made me think about this. I don't know if you have an answer. If not, please feel free to say that you are not working in this line. But many times that we bump into IP concerns related also with technology, consequences also to ask about who owns the data, who owns the customer, who owns the relationship, which is not IP per se, but it's a consequence of how we structure openness legally and how do we articulate this connection with technology, where you are even more propense to scale up these relations. Do you have any insights related to this?
Well, I have a large interest in this, and I think many others do as well. And it's sort of an evolving landscape. I have a PhD student focusing on this specifically. And I don't want to give too much of general advice here, but it's an interesting area for sure, and one that we want and need to see much more research on.
And it's for sure, I think, one that activates instantaneously with this, and we are opening so many possibilities nowadays with technology, So this relates to my last question. Where are the research areas or the practice areas that you recommend people to look into? Or what's the future that you envision, both in terms of academia and practice around these areas?
Well, if I may, ask for something from us as a community, I would like to see, in general, more research and practice that considers the granularity of technology, IP, and contracting decisions when we talk about open innovation, so that it actually comes down to the nuts and bolts of everything. So understanding the technology you talk about better, understanding these contracts, how they were designed. Okay, what are the limitations and why do they look the way they look? What are the risks they sort of deal with, and what are the potential that they enable?
This is so interesting for me. I think we are in this area, we're talking about the borders of open innovation, so to speak. And so it's also connected with many other disciplines, of course, legal aspects, technology, and all this. And it's in itself an open innovation effort to research in these areas. I think the mix of many disciplines will bring knowledge and learnings to this. I feel that this is something that feels like it's cumbersome, to go and think about contracts, but in reality sets the boundaries for freedom, I think, or at least for being with an ease, to have an ease of mind when you are in the process of collaboration. Well, one last advice, any call to action you want to share with our listeners today? We are ready to close the session.
Yeah, I would say trying, looking at what we just talked about jointly, like finding well-functioning combinations of these dimensions, like technological, IP rights, contractual, how they all come together. It's not about studying them independently, but actually trying to understand them jointly, and looking at how that might actually enable more open innovation, faster progress.
This is amazing, Marcus. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for sharing these 15 minutes of open innovation every Thursday. Happy Open Innovation Thursday for you.
Thank you, and you too.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.